Recently, my husband was asked to undergo a re-examination for his company's health checkup. I suppose this is what happens when you reach your late 40s. Maybe we need a comprehensive medical evaluation instead of just an annual checkup. John, my husband, has a chronic illness, which has always been a source of worry for me. I'm Lisa, and I've been married to John for 20 years. Our only daughter, Dana, turned 17 this year and is now applying to college. Despite the ups and downs we've faced over the past 2 decades, seeing our daughter grow up has been a great relief. I've managed to keep our family together while working part-time at a bakery near the train station. Because of my concerns about John's health, I've been careful about our meals, opting for low salt, low fat, and healthy ingredients in my cooking. I thought we still had our whole lives ahead of us, but John disregarded my feelings and acted foolishly. One evening, John came home early. "Why are you back so soon?" I asked. "I overate at lunch and now my stomach is upset," he replied, his tone unusually subdued. Given John's chronic illness, I considered taking him to the hospital. However, he insisted, "I'll be fine after a little sleep. Just let me rest." I decided to wait and see. 3 hours later, something seemed off. John was panting, struggling to breathe, and complaining of pain. "Are you okay?" I asked, concerned. I decided to take John to the hospital right away. He was laid on a bed in the treatment room, and a nurse came in. Surprisingly, she was heavily made up. "Are you all right? I'm going to take your blood pressure now." "How high was your fever?" she asked. "It was 99.3 degrees, John replied. 99.3, got it. The doctor will be here shortly." As she checked John's pulse, she asked, "Does it hurt anywhere?" Her eyes sparkled as she spoke, giving off an impression more akin to a cosplay performer than a nurse. Feeling uneasy, I was relieved when the primary physician arrived promptly. John was admitted for further testing, and soon, the doctor informed us of the results. Apparently, John was on the verge of developing a stomach ulcer and was sternly warned against overeating or excessive drinking. Just as I had feared, his body was crying out in distress. When John had calmed down and his pain had eased, some of his coworkers came to visit him in the hospital. I quickly went to a nearby store to get some drinks for them. As I returned to his room, I heard laughter. Although I had only seen his male colleagues visit him, I now heard a woman's voice. Listening more closely, I realized it was the same nurse from before. "We should go camping. It's great to clear your head and breathe in the mountain air." "Let's all go together, boss. I can borrow my dad's car." I heard that camping empty-handed is a trend now, another coworker chimed in. "That's right, it's called glamping," the nurse replied. "They provide everything from food to equipment. I'll come along, and it would be great rehab for you." "That sounds great. Let's go after I get discharged," John said. "You're quick to make decisions." "Way to go, boss," one of his coworkers responded. "What are you talking about? I see everyone loves you," the nurse added with a smile. I was taken aback. The idea of a patient and a nurse planning a camping trip while he's still hospitalized was shocking. My husband was clearly in the wrong, but I couldn't fathom what the nurse was thinking. Despite being strictly warned against binge eating and drinking, he was ready to go camping. Unbelievable. Pretending not to hear, I entered the room and handed drinks to his colleagues. A few days later, John was discharged. He had fallen in love with the young nurse during his stay. I had suspected as much, so I wasn't surprised. "You leave this house," I told him firmly. "With my pleasure. But don't call me even if anything happens later," John retorted. I gladly granted his wish for a divorce. Taking Dana with me, I left the house, but Dana seemed upset. "What's this all about, telling us to leave without any notice? What is that grown man even thinking?" "Well, he's always been like this, but I do feel somewhat relieved." "No way. I'm not forgiving him. He used you like a housemaid, cheated on you, and now wants a divorce. We can't let this slide. Let's get back at him." "It's okay. There's no need for that. He'll see his own hell very soon," I reassured her. "Huh? Mom, have you already planned something?" Dana asked. "Not exactly," I replied. "I don't think of him as my father anymore, and I'll never see him again. He really gives me the creeps. What's with that man? Pisses me off," Dana continued angrily. "I'm sorry it has to come to this. But you know, Dana, the only thing I'm grateful to your father for is you. I'm so glad that you came into my life," I said softly. "Mom, you don't need to be grateful for that. He's the absolute worst, and he deserves to go to hell. I despise him so much, Dana declared vehemently. Half a month after the divorce, I received a phone call just as I arrived at my bakery for work. It was Anna, the nurse my ex-husband had cheated on me with. She wanted to meet after work, claiming she had something important to discuss. Reluctantly, I agreed to meet her. When I arrived at the cafe where we had arranged to meet, Anna was there in a flashy outfit. "Hey, don't play games with me today. Do you know why I had to come and meet you?" Anna began sharply. "Well, you haven't said anything yet, so I'm not sure," I replied cautiously. "Stop acting dumb. You left after the divorce, but why are you selling the house now? You can't do this. Take down the sale immediately," Anna demanded. "I think there's been a misunderstanding. I was the one who bought that house." "Oh, did John not tell you anything?" I responded calmly. "Ha! What do you mean?" Anna asked, clearly taken aback. "Oh yeah, he never shares anything that'll make him look bad," I explained. "Before we got married, my parents died in an accident, and I received an inheritance. I used that money to buy that house. Therefore, it's not part of the marital assets, and it's mine." "Ah, so you mean John doesn't own a house?" Anna queried. "That's correct. I doubt he mentioned he owned the house to you. I don't think it's possible for him to buy a house at his age. So we're going to be living in a rental forever?" I didn't know. He said he was going to sell the house and buy a high-rise condo. He lied to me. Well then, he's nothing but a broke old man. I sympathize with you, but you're married, aren't you? And you even have a child. I'm going to hold you accountable for this. I have filed a claim for damages. I believe your husband will be filing for damages soon as well," Anna declared firmly. "Huh? My husband knows about this?" I asked, stunned. "Of course he does. Cheaters always get exposed in the end. He mentioned claiming child support and damages to hold you accountable," Anna replied matter-of-factly. "What? What do I do now?" I exclaimed, feeling overwhelmed. Anna's plan seemed to have backfired, leaving her deeply bewildered and uncertain. Although I didn't reveal this earlier, following my lawyer's advice, I sent a certified letter to my husband's company detailing his affair. The company adhered to a philosophy that valued family stability, believing a man who couldn't protect his own family couldn't safeguard their business either. Those with peaceful family lives were prioritized for promotion. If they learned his affair led to a divorce, it would derail his promotion prospects. He had worked tirelessly to build a stellar reputation, so this revelation would be a devastating setback, potentially ruining everything he had strived for. What's more, the director of the hospital where Anna works happens to be Anna's father-in-law, a prominent figure in the medical community known for his intolerance of dishonesty. Given his principles, it seems inevitable that her divorce will proceed. Apparently, Anna had always been determined to marry a doctor, which is why she pursued a career as a nurse. Once she achieved her goal, her focus shifted solely to her own happiness, leading to her affair. She had married a doctor and fulfilled her dream, only to destroy it all through infidelity. It's baffling why she chose to jeopardize everything she had worked so hard for. I had become aware of Anna and my husband's affair during the time he was hospitalized. The day he was admitted, I unexpectedly met Tina, an old friend, in the hospital hallway. It was a pleasant surprise seeing her there, and after so long, we caught up over dinner. During our conversation, Tina disclosed Anna's scandalous affairs, which left me shocked. However, I initially dismissed any concern about her involvement with my husband, considering his age of 47. I couldn't fathom him having an affair at this stage in life. Yet 2 days later, Tina dropped the bombshell that their relationship had already begun. Tina's revelations prepared me for the worst. So when my husband eventually asked me to leave, I felt that the time had come. I agreed to the divorce without hesitation, thanks to Tina's insights. The only thing that could secure from a man with no assets, no cash, nothing was alimony. Determined to start afresh, I sold my house for more than expected and could afford a new condo. I felt rejuvenated and content with my new life alongside Dana. Then Anna called. "I'm in trouble. Please help me. I can't stand not having everything I want." That's why I pursued John, but I never planned to leave my husband. I finally landed my coveted doctor. So what? I fail to see how that justifies an affair. You know how tempting things can get sometimes, right? My husband was always studying to become a doctor, so he didn't know how to have fun and was boring. When I met John, who knew how to enjoy himself and was dependable, I couldn't resist having a little fun with him. "I'm sorry, but I need you to talk to my husband. If it's money you want, I'll pay you whatever you need." Huh? Why would I talk to your husband? I asked, puzzled. Please tell my husband that there's nothing between John and me. Let him know that John was the one who flirted with me and I did nothing wrong. I'll pretend I was just troubled by it all. Please help me out. Can you do something for me? What on earth are you talking about? My husband is adamant about divorcing me, but I don't want it to end this way. I'll give John up, so please help me. I'll pay you generously if you do. Please, I need your help, Anna pleaded desperately. Anna's distress amused me inwardly. She thought she had stolen my husband, but in the end, I had taken away her peace of mind. Later that night, I received a call from my husband. What the hell have you done? Selling the house and demanding compensation. You've gone too far. Didn't Anna tell you? My husband asked abruptly. What? Why are you bringing her into this? I responded, puzzled. I met with Anna today after she contacted me, he explained. What? I exclaimed, taken aback. I have every right to do as I please with the house since I'm the one who bought it, he asserted. You don't need to be so angry. If we lose that house, I'll have nowhere to go, I pleaded. We're divorced now, so we're not family anymore, right? He replied coldly. We were married for over 20 years. Who was the one who betrayed their partner and cheated? I've already told you not to contact me unless it's urgent because I don't care, I retorted. Stop with the excuses. Cancel the sale of the house immediately, he demanded. I'll end this call if that's all you have to say. It's not my concern anymore, I replied calmly. You? How dare you? Fine, Anna is a nurse so she has a good salary and she's much younger than you. Women like you are worthless anyway, he snapped. Well, that's unfortunate, but Anna called you a broke loser too, I shot back. What? What? Don't you dare repeat that, and tell Anna she better watch her mouth. I filed for compensation from both of them, I declared. After speaking with Anna's husband, who like me was also a victim, it became clear he had noticed and was preparing for divorce. Their mutual betrayal, rooted in infidelity and financial gain, ensured their relationship was doomed from the start. Despite understanding this from the outset, neither Anna's husband nor I took action, content to watch these two villains unravel each other. Yet, I remained astounded by their relentless determination. Meanwhile, my ex-husband John persistently called Dana. The phone rang incessantly until Dana finally answered. Stop calling me over and over, she demanded sharply. You finally answered, Dana. Are you all right? How's school? Are you eating well? How are college applications going? John's questions were unusually concerned, things he had never asked before. Dana put the phone on speaker so I could listen in. Stop bothering me, Dana replied bluntly. That's not how you should talk to your dad, John insisted. Huh? You're not my dad. You abandoned me, remember? Dana retorted sharply. What are you talking about? I didn't abandon you, Dana. Let me guess, your mom told you that, didn't she? John responded defensively. I'm almost 18 now. I know exactly what's going on, Dana asserted firmly. Dana, let's live together again. Life without you is lonely, John pleaded. Have you lost your mind? What are you saying? You're the one who cheated on my mom and left us. I'm not calling someone like you my dad. I'll never forgive you. We're not family anymore, so stop calling, Dana replied with anger in her voice. Dana, are you going to abandon your dad? John questioned desperately. How many times do I have to tell you? You're the one who abandoned us. Don't call me just because your mistress dumped you. You've always been like this. It was so hard to watch Mom suffer. You're so self-centered. All you care about is yourself and nothing else. I'm so fed up with you, Dana retorted, her frustration palpable. Please don't say that. I need your help. I'm all alone now. If you forgive me, your mom will too. Your mom should just come back. Her pride is keeping her away. She can't live without me. Dana, please help your mom come back. Please, John pleaded desperately. Dana, stop it. Mom has finally started to smile again. She's happy now that she's free from you. Don't twist things around. I'm blocking you, Dana replied firmly. Dana, wait, Dana. Dana was so furious her face turned beet red. She defended me with all her strength. I could feel my daughter's maturity. It was clear Dana had grown into a young adult. Once Dana starts college and begins her career, my life as a single woman will begin. It might get lonely at times, but I believe I'll find happiness. I am confident that my decision was the right one. Later, Dana was accepted into her first choice college, and we both shed tears of joy. I was simply thrilled to see Dana's hard work pay off. Naturally, we didn't inform John about any of this. Rumors circulated that John resigned from his job voluntarily. Perhaps staying on had become pointless. Anna, on the other hand, reportedly divorced and relocated to another hospital to meet her financial obligations for alimony and child support, cutting ties with John in the process. However, her tenure there was short-lived due to allegations of flirting with male patients. It was clear that Anna had no interest in John, especially now that he was financially unstable. With John out of work, I have no clue what he's up to these days. Thanks to Anna's husband, I was offered an office job at the hospital, and now I work there full-time. My life has stabilized, and I'm able to afford my daughter's college tuition. Soon, Dana will start her own family. I sincerely pray that Dana finds a loving and sincere man to marry.
All right, everyone's presentations are done. Nick, the manager, said as he tried to move the discussion forward. Excuse me, I haven't. I recently found out something. Nick interrupted me and began to speak. There's apparently someone in this department who didn't graduate high school and is just a part-timer. Meetings should be for employees only. Absolutely right. His lackey, Mike, of course, agreed with Nick. I'm leaving. After leaving the meeting room, I started to shut down my computer. I noticed that an email had arrived, not in my personal inbox, but in the company's shared email. Thinking, there's no point in speaking up, no one will listen, I went home quietly. The next day, I heard a commotion from Nick's desk. He was staring at his computer screen, his face pale. Nick? Is something wrong? Mike looked at the screen with him. And he turned even paler than Nick. Why is he so angry? Knowing the reason for Mike's distress, I thought to myself, serves them right. My name is Adam. My mother passed away when I was in the 9th grade, and I was raised by my father. Well, you could hardly call it being raised. After my mother passed, my father changed. He drowned his sorrows in alcohol, and though he still went to work, he squandered our living expenses on horse racing. Because of that, I had to start working part-time as soon as I entered high school. Every month, I went to the convenience store with bills in hand that couldn't be auto-deducted from my father's account. Even though I endured it because I didn't want to be alone, I reached my limit in my second year of high school and dropped out. I found a live-in job at a distant inn. Thank you for everything. The day I left home, my father, still staring at the TV, spoke. Take care. That was our last conversation. Back then, 18 wasn't the age of majority, so I needed my father's permission to work, and I couldn't hide my place of employment. Yet, my father never visited me even once. I kept working just to survive, and before I knew it, I was 42. Years of hard work paid off, and I was transferred to the headquarters. I was thrilled to be recognized by the company, as I thought I'd be working in the field until retirement due to my lack of formal education. Listen up. Our work can change the future of our employees. Don't drag us down. On my first day after the transfer, Nick, dressed in an expensive suit, spoke sternly. There was a reason for this. Our inn was located in a prominent tourist destination, known so well that everyone in the state could sing its commercial jingle. At its peak, we had 5 locations within the state. But that was long ago. Due to financial difficulties and aging facilities, only the place where I had worked for many years and the original establishment remained. I was prepared to lose my job anytime, but now there was a glimmer of hope. With the rise of social media, the tourist area where the inn was located started gaining attention again. Depending on how hard the sales department, where I was transferred, worked, we could either thrive or be forced to give up this prime location to the new hotel chains continuously popping up. For Nick, who had switched careers from another industry to strengthen our sales, this was a battle he couldn't afford to lose. I understood why he had to be strict. I will do my best. Nick sneered at my enthusiastic declaration. Did you not hear what I said? I'm sorry. I thought I was listening carefully. Out of habit from years of customer service, I apologized reflexively, though I had no idea what had offended him. Someone was watching me with a smirk. In this department, there are those who are expected to excel and those who have been shoved here because they have nowhere else to go. You are the latter. It was Mike, the section chief. He's 7 years younger, at 35. But he was called to headquarters much earlier than I was and had been moving around within the headquarters ever since. I'm not jealous, but I can't accept that he's my boss. Graduating from a prestigious university, he has an unusually high pride and caused many problems as a newbie, making things very difficult for me when I was the front desk leader. When I found out Mike was transferred to the sales department a month before me, I was disheartened. Mike is right. With just a middle school diploma, there's not much you can do. Don't even think about achieving results. As if I didn't exist, Nick remarked, "I'm thirsty." Mike eagerly ran to the coffee maker. It seems Mike is Nick's lackey. I regretted being happy about my transfer to headquarters, wishing I had stayed on site forever. Send a direct mail to every company on this list by the end of the day. Nick only assigned me tasks that even a new graduate could handle. What? There are over 1,000 companies. You want me to send to all of them by today? Yes, if you and your fellow misfits split the work, even those with nowhere else to go should finish by today. I glanced at the employees typing away expressionlessly. They were worn out from customer service, only thinking about leaving on time, or were women reassigned after having children, with zero motivation for work. Even Sam, a new graduate from the same university as Mike, who was supposed to be among the expected achievers, had no enthusiasm for the job, having joined the company wanting to do customer service. I don't care what they say, I plan to quit anytime, he said. Only Nick and Mike were highly motivated, making all the decisions between the two of them. I originally only wanted to work at the inn to survive and had no particular attachment to this job. I swallowed my words, thinking I had no right to reprimand them. About a month after the transfer, Nick told us with a frustrated look. To commemorate the 50th anniversary, we've decided to create a plan exclusive for one group per day. Originally, Mike and I were supposed to come up with it, but our president, Mr. Thompson, insists on hearing everyone's opinions. So, you all get a chance. As Nick explained, Mike began handing out prints. Make sure not to embarrass Nick. If your ideas are half-baked, you'll have to redo them. It seemed that they had printed his handwritten notes by Mr. Thompson, which included several questions and a section for free responses. It made sense why Nick had to seek our input, given that all responses had to be submitted to Mr. Thompson. We were given a week to think about it, and a meeting was scheduled to compile our ideas. My plan is to let guests enjoy both the old and modern America. Nick began the presentations. Guests would watch a master confectioner at a nearby traditional sweet shop make sweets in front of them. The welcome drink would be premium tea in a bottle. Nick's plan was certainly attractive. After his presentation, Nick called on us to present in the order we were seated. Just as I stood up for my turn. All right, everyone's presentations are done. Excuse me, I haven't. I recently found out something. Nick interrupted me. There's someone in this department who didn't graduate high school and is just a part-timer. He was likely talking about me. I joined the company as a part-timer and was made a full-time employee when I turned 20. That was 20 years ago, so Nick and Mike probably had no chance to know until recently. Meetings should be for employees only. Absolutely right. After that, Nick kept creating opportunities to solicit everyone's opinions, purposefully excluding me from speaking. The meeting unexpectedly heated up and went past the scheduled end time. A few people asked to leave, and the discussion continued with the remaining few. Still here? Normally, you'd leave in that situation. Though I had no attachment to the job initially, hearing kind words from customers made me want to make them happier. For someone like me, with nowhere to go, the inn was my home and customer service was my life. I felt pathetic about my current self. I'm leaving. I left the conference room and started shutting down my computer. I noticed an email had arrived, not in my personal inbox, but in the company's shared email. Thinking no one would listen to what I had to say anyway, I quietly went home. The next day, while preparing the DM as instructed, I heard a commotion from Nick's desk. In his haste to stand up, he hit his knee on the desk. He stared at his computer screen, his face pale. Nick! What's wrong? Mike, thinking he should be the first to rush over, approached Nick while still wearing his coat. He peered at the screen with Nick. And he turned even paler than Nick. Why is he so angry? Who is responsible for this company? Nick, more irritated than ever, asked, and Mike answered without checking. Probably Sam. Sam wasn't there because he was attending a morning training session for new hires. Nick gave up on getting angry and returned his gaze to the screen. They were looking at an email that arrived right after the end of the working day yesterday. Apparently, no one, including me, had checked it before leaving. The email was from a large company that used us for their annual employee trips. The president and executives of that company also frequently used our services personally. President of the company, Mr. Mason himself, had declared that neither he nor his company would ever use our services again. Well, some companies cancel their employee trips or stop using our services due to financial struggles. Let's just move on. Mike kept wiping the sweat from his forehead with a handkerchief. Knowing why Mike was so agitated, I quietly watched their interaction. Do you know how much revenue we get from that company? We can find other guests to fill the rooms, but we'll lose the banquet costs, gift shop revenue, rental car fees, and more. Moreover, the gifts were supposed to be prepared by the traditional confectionery shop involved in Nick's proposed plan. If it's known that we incurred such a huge loss at this critical time, Nick's position in the company would be jeopardized. Nick took a deep breath, seemingly trying to calm himself. All right, Mike. Go to New York right now and apologize to Mr. Mason. What? You're coming with me, right? I have urgent work to do. I trust you, which is why I'm entrusting this to you. Please. Mike, believing Nick's sincerity, agreed with a determined look on his face, saying, yes. That's Nick for you. Even if Mike went to apologize, Nick would shift all the blame onto him if the client didn't change their mind. Well, it was Mike's fault to begin with, so it served him right. About 3 hours later, Sam answered a call from somewhere and repeatedly apologized, saying, I'm very sorry. Everyone watched to see what was happening. After ending the call, he informed Nick with a weary tone. When Mike arrived at the client's company, he only made things worse, further infuriating Mr. Mason. He was demanding, get his boss here immediately. It was no wonder Sam was exhausted, dealing with such a call right after returning from training. What is that idiot doing? All right, Adam, you're coming with me. If sacrificing Mike didn't work, then I must be next. Normally, I'd want to refuse at all costs, but I saw an opportunity in this situation. If I can be of assistance, I'd be happy to join you. I obediently followed Nick, and we flew to New York. When we introduced ourselves at the reception, it became clear how serious the situation was, as the receptionist personally escorted us to the president's office. Angry voices leaked through the door, making both Nick and me uneasy. Excuse me. I'm Nick, the supervisor. I understand my subordinate has caused you trouble, and I deeply apologize. Nick, with his experience in the corporate world, knew enough to offer an apology before excuses. However, his customer service skills left much to be desired. I sighed as I saw Mike trembling like a small dog in the corner of the room. What kind of training are you giving your subordinates? Mr. Mason glared at Nick with a red face. The intensity of his gaze made even Nick take a step back. Regrettably, I joined this company only 2 years ago and was unaware of Mike's issues. I should have identified his shortcomings sooner. Indeed. I should have realized sooner. No sensible person would come to apologize and then give a lengthy presentation on the drawbacks of not using their in. Nick froze, his mouth slightly open. Suspecting the worst, I picked up the documents that had fallen to the floor. It seemed Mike hastily prepared these documents on the plane, listing the disadvantages. Disadvantage 1: if you change the venue for the company trip, employees might suspect it's for cost-cutting reasons, leading to a negative impression. Reading it aloud half-jokingly, Nick snatched the papers from my hand and checked the contents with a furious expression. Among the stack of documents was a receipt from a nearby convenience store's copy machine. I felt a pang of dread, hoping he hadn't shown the receipt as well. What do you think he said when I asked what kind of nerve he had to do this? I'm very sorry. Faced with the dire situation, Nick must have thought there was nothing left to do but apologize. In a voice smaller than I'd ever heard from him, he uttered words of apology. He said, I'm a Harvard graduate. I don't believe I said anything wrong. Mike. What have you done? Forgetting his plan to pin the blame on Mike, Nick yelled loudly, even in front of Mr. Mason. "I didn't do anything wrong." "You're still saying that? Look at him." Mike pointed at me with a shaking hand. "I was assigned to headquarters in my 20s and now I'm a section chief. This guy only made it to headquarters at 42. Everything I've done proves I was right. So why are we losing the contract?" Having said his piece, Mike collapsed to the floor. "Of course. You were sent there because you had nowhere else to go." Mike never expected to hear such words from someone he looked down upon. He lunged at me, and Nick hurriedly stepped in to stop him. "Mr. Thompson told me Mike is a quick thinker, and to take good care of him." There's no way he was pushed aside. "Don't make things worse here." "He didn't say quick thinker, he said only quick-witted, didn't he?" I don't remember that part." I recalled the many troubles Mike caused when he was a newbie. When Mike was on the front line, his pride was so high that he never apologized to customers. Customer service, especially in our job, doesn't work alone. It brings both good and bad situations. If the front staff or housekeepers made mistakes, or the cleaning company didn't properly clean a room, one had to apologize to the customers regardless of personal fault. Mike, in such situations, would never apologize, insisting he wasn't at fault. This often angered customers, and as the front desk leader, I frequently had to apologize on his behalf. He caused complaints and disrupted operations, which is why he was quickly moved to headquarters. In departments where he didn't interact directly with customers, his quick thinking was beneficial and things went well. But it seemed his flaws were starting to show. Corporate reservations are supposed to be entered into the system by the sales representative. But a quick check yesterday revealed that more than 10 items were missing from the client's reservation. The handover document clearly stated what needed to be prepared. Why didn't you enter it into the system? Why do we have to give them special treatment? Filling rooms near the banquet hall, setting up all the food in advance. Specifying the brand of wine, they're too demanding. No wonder he always angered customers, I thought, feeling a headache coming on. Grouping them in rooms near the banquet hall is for our benefit too. It makes it easier for the staff to set up beds and serve breakfast since everyone's schedule is synchronized. As for the other requests, Mr. Mason suggested them to lighten our load. I didn't know that. Nick finally seemed to realize that Mike was the one who had angered the client. What did you say to them? I just told them we wouldn't give them special treatment anymore. We shouldn't waste effort on things that don't bring in money. I was utterly exasperated at his lack of understanding of customer service. Of course, we shouldn't comply with unreasonable demands. But carrying over successful practices from past stays makes customers feel remembered and enhances their experience. Good memories encourage repeat visits. That's part of our job. I looked down at Mike, who was sitting on the floor. In our job, nothing is a waste. Mr. Thompson likely moved you to the sales department, hoping you'd finally understand this. How do you think he feels now that you've failed to meet his expectations? Mike, tears in his eyes, fled the president's office. I was amazed he still hadn't apologized. You have it tough, Adam. It's okay, we're all employees of the same company. I deeply apologize for this disrespectful incident. Especially after all the care you've shown us. If it weren't for you, Adam, I really would have stopped staying here. When I heard you were moving to the sales department, I was willing to reconsider if you handled it. Seeing us talk so amicably, Nick's face contorted. Do you two know each other? Adam's service is excellent. I always requested him specifically. Normally, we don't accept specific staff requests, but we made an exception for Mr. Mason, adjusting my shifts accordingly. He had personally stayed at our hotel just before my transfer, and during casual conversation, I mentioned, I'm moving to the sales department soon. If I hadn't told him then, things could have been much worse. Please continue to take care of us. I look forward to it. On the return flight, Nick awkwardly offered me a can of beer. It's still working hours. Of course, I had no intention of forgiving him for a single beer. Nick might try to pin everything on Mike and avoid any consequences. While pondering this, a startling fact came to light. Nick, the the tea bottles for the plan have arrived. I handed Nick a bottle labeled with our inn's name. They look good. What are you talking about? These are plastic bottles. I had assumed we would use the trendy, high-end bottling tea. But what arrived were ordinary plastic bottles of tea with customized labels. The only unique aspect was the label, which had the inn's name, making it look customized. Upon further investigation, I discovered that a substantial amount of money was set to be paid to the tea company. It was priced like bottling tea. Does this plastic bottle really cost $100 each? The tea inside is specially blended for us. The extra cost is for that. Wouldn't it be better to use another tea company? Or is there a specific reason we must use this one? As Nick continued to make excuses, I showed him a printed email. I informed the tea company's president, Mr. Mitchell, that we discovered irregular payments and he confessed. He said you two were high school classmates and planned to split the extra money. That idiot. Why did he confess? That's not important. You should worry about yourself. This could turn into a police matter. Opening the bottle cap, I suggested. How about calming down with this tea? It supposedly has a relaxing effect. Nick drank the tea frantically. In the following days, decisions were made about their fates. Mike was reassigned to the General Affairs Department, with no chance of transfer or promotion, as per Mr. Thompson's orders. As for Nick, since the payment to the tea company hadn't yet been made, he narrowly avoided legal trouble. Instead, he was encouraged to leave the company, and to avoid further complications, Nick submitted his resignation. Rumor has it that connections between HR departments have made it difficult for him to find new employment. Even though it was good to have those two gone, something unexpected happened in the sales department. Everyone became motivated and united in refining the 50th anniversary plan. In the end, my plan was adopted. We collaborated with the Tourist Information Center to provide personalized guides. The plan, tailored to the number of guests, was truly special for the 50th anniversary. Hey, is Adam's family coming to stay? I immediately booked that special plan for my family. Sam noticed it on the reservation list and quickly picked up on it. Yes, I'm inviting my father. That's great. I might invite my parents too. I lacked the courage to face my father just as Adam. But here, with the confidence Mr. Mason praised, I felt ready. The 50th anniversary plan was a perfect opportunity to reconnect with my father. I hoped to bring back the days when we could laugh together as we once did.